Hello everybody, this is Lara from Pure Elliott Wave with your Monday to Friday, almost always Monday to Friday, update for Bitcoin technicals only, and then XRP, Elliott Wave and technicals. You can get my Bitcoin Elliott Wave work. I do usually 15 to 20 minute video for my subscribers on my website. There are links in the description box down below. Click on that, go over to the Pure Elliott Wave website and you can subscribe to Bitcoin, Ethereum, oil, S&P 500, or gold. We've got 5 markets Jack and I cover every week. I'm going to go over the weekly technical chart again with you today for Bitcoin because there is a very exciting candlestick. I know that sounds so geeky, but I'm really pleased and relieved to see this unfolding. I talk about fear and greed, and when price is going down and price was at its lows on the 5th of August, I think I mentioned in my videos that fear is the dominant emotion, and we tend to buy when prices are high when we're feeling greed, and then we sell when prices are low when we're feeling fear, which is the exact opposite. So obviously of what you need to do to make money. You need to buy when prices are low, but it's difficult because you're fearful. You need to sell when prices are high because it's difficult because you're feeling greed. So you hang on, wanting more. Prices were low on the 5th of August, and I said fear was the dominant emotion, and fear did reach into, according to the fear and greed indicator, into extreme fear at those lows. So that's, from a contrarian point of view, extremely bullish. I am trying to be very calm and just calm the waters of fear and greed in my videos, but just so you know, behind the scenes I also am human and I feel those feelings of fear and greed. Today I'm feeling less fearful, which is a very good thing for my blood pressure, I think, because we're getting this beautiful dragonfly doji forming at the weekly time frame. Now, we do still have the rest of Friday session and Saturday and Sunday, so I'm not going to call it a dragonfly doji complete. It's potentially forming. I want to pull your attention to this candlestick here. Keep an eye on the weekly time frame on what happens for the rest of Friday and over Saturday and Sunday. If this forms with a very bullish long lower wick and a small body, it will be a very bullish hammer candlestick pattern. If it forms looking like it is today, it's going to be a dragonfly doji. I don't think either one of those is more particularly bullish than the other, but they are both very bullish candlestick reversal patterns. It needs to have a very long lower wick for it to be bullish. So keep an eye out on how this dragonfly, potentially doji or maybe hammer, is forming at the weekly time frame. Watch that for the next few days. Resistance is going to probably turn to support at 55,000, but I won't label that complete until the candlestick for the current week is complete. So I'll just leave that at resistance. Price has moved below that, found support around about 51,800. If we see continued downward movement, look out for support at this trend line. I've drawn it from the low of the end of the year-long bear market in November 2022 to this low here, the month of September 2023, and this chart is on a semi-log scale. Look out for support, eventually final support at that trend line, but I think it's probably not going to get any lower than it has this week. There is more strength on upward weeks recently than there is on downward. Up to the last all-time high, price closed to new all-time highs at all time frames, daily, weekly and monthly, with push from volume. That last all-time high above 73,000 was very, very bullish. That was a classic technical upward breakout with strong support from volume. We can have confidence in that bullish breakout. For the very short term, there is some increase in bearish weeks, and the current week is showing a strong increase. For the short term, volume is pushing price lower. Volume will tend to end with strength at the end of bearish movements. It'll also be strong at interim lows in bear markets, and we don't know which of those two scenarios is playing out until we can see how price behaves next time it gets to resistance, and I'll look at that carefully with you at the daily time frame. At the weekly time frame, at the last all-time high, ADX reached very extreme, above 45 and above both DX lines. The consolidation pullback to last a few months has pulled ADX down right below 45, well below. The DX lines are whipsawing. There's no clear trend at the weekly time frame. But since the end of the bear market in November 2022, there is a series of higher highs and a series of higher lows. Now that is the basic definition of an upward trend. This is the last highest low prior to the highest high. So in order for that pattern of higher highs and higher lows to be broken, we would need to see a new low below 38,512.34, not on a closing basis, just a new low at any time frame by any amount in order for the pattern to be broken. And if that happens, then yes, you can say Bitcoin has turned from bull to bear. While that has not happened, one of my mantras is assume the trend remains the same until proven otherwise. Because if you assume the trend remains the same and don't anticipate trend changes, you will be right more often than you will be wrong. And so you will have more profit than you will have loss. It's just a really basic concept. So I am assuming that the bull market remains intact while price remains above this price point. And consolidations and pullbacks are absolutely normal to be expected parts of a healthy bullish market. Don't expect price to always move in a straight line. It will sometimes for this market for relatively short periods of time, but this is a bull market that's over a year. It's going to have pullbacks and consolidations. And this pullback and consolidation followed RSI reaching fairly deeply overbought and exhibiting a single bearish divergence with price. The pullback consolidation has pulled RSI well back into neutral. It's sitting just above 50 at the moment. There is plenty of room for the larger bullish run now to continue. Money flow also reached overbought and exhibited very short-term, very strong, clear bearish divergence. The pullback has pulled money flow right below 50. There is so much room again for this larger bullish run to continue. During the consolidation, ATR has been declining. This is a normal to be expected part or behavior of a consolidation, a decline in volatility when price is having a pause to reset and to set itself up for the next phase of the bull market. Technicals on the daily for Bitcoin, it's extremely good to see this candlestick for the 9th of August now complete with a really big increase in range and some push from volume. We now have some strength in upward movement. I like to say I want to see strength off lows. And one of the things you can look for is an increase in volume as price moves higher and an increase in range. When you see both of those things, you are seeing strength up off lows. And when you can see strength off lows, you can have a little bit more confidence that the low is probably in and you're probably going to now see the resumption of the bullish run. But I will not have full confidence in that until we see how price behaves next time it gets up to resistance. I want to see a close above resistance at 73,100 on an upward session with push from volume. If we see that, we will have a classic technical upward breakout from this big consolidation that price began on the 29th of February this year. I want to then see a follow through with 2 or 3 days of green candlesticks up and away to filter out a potential false upward breakout, because rectangles are unfortunately plagued by numerous false breakouts in both directions, up and down. We've had a false breakout here, price returned back within the rectangle for an upward swing, a false downward breakout here, again price returned quickly within the rectangle for an upward swing, another false breakout. Well, actually price didn't manage to close on the 5th of August below the previous low of the 5th of July, so it wasn't even a false downward breakout, it just had this huge lower wick. Price did manage to quickly move below 51,000 but quickly returned back in, is back within the rectangle. So this is not a downward breakout, this is an overshoot of support, and now price is back within the rectangle moving up in an upward swing. I want to wait and see how it behaves when it gets back to resistance. Are we going to see an upward breakout or just the end of an upward swing and then yet another downward swing? But one of the other things we can say about this rectangle now is it's very mature. It's been going on for months, a lot longer than I had expected. The longer it goes on, the closer we get to the end. The probability of seeing an upward breakout when price next approaches resistance is getting quite high, and that's what I'm going to expect as most likely, not certain. We're dealing with a balance of probability as in everything in technical analysis. The 5th of August had a huge volume spike and a huge bullish long lower wick. Price will commonly end these pullbacks and consolidations within bullish runs with very strong volume to the downside, an increase in range. This looks fairly typical so far. The last completed upward session has an increase in volume from the 6th of August, so we can now say that for the short term, there is now an increase in volume as price moves higher. This is bullish. Now, it doesn't have to yet be stronger than this volume spike for the 5th of August. It only has to be stronger than the volume on the 6th of August, and it is. So yes, there is an increase in volume as price moves higher. That's really good to see for the short term, and along with that increase in range, I can now have a little bit more confidence that we've probably seen a low in place. But I've been wrong before, I could be wrong again. That's why I say wait for full confidence for an upward breakout. ADX is now declining. There's no longer a downward trend indicated for the short term. We can now identify a pivot at the low for the 5th of August compared to the pivot low for the 24th of June. Price closed lower, but RSI has not made a corresponding low. There is weakness in terms of strength as measured by RSI at that low, and this divergence is bullish. This supports the view that that low may finally be in place. There is also bullish divergence between price and money flow. Between the 5th of July and the 5th of August, price has closed lower, money flow has not made a corresponding low. I add in money flow, I use it in exactly the same way as I'm using RSI, but I'm using this in addition because it has a volume component to its calculation, which adds a little bit more depth to the RSI analysis. Both of them exhibiting bullish divergence together is really bullish. This supports the view that that low may finally be in place. ATR is showing a really strong increase now as price moves higher. There is strength in terms of volume and increasing volatility in this upward movement. This adds support to the view that that low may finally be in place. I will be expecting upward movement at least to resistance, about 73,000 or so, and when it gets there, I'll be watching very carefully to see if we have an upward breakout, and I'll take you through with that with me step by step, day by day. My very short-term Elliott Wave count for XRP. For a long time, I expected this 5-step forward pattern, and then I said to expect a pullback. We got the spike above to a short-term high and then an immediate movement back down, and we got the pullback. The structure is an expanded flat. They are really annoying and tricky structures because the wave B of an expanded flat makes a new price extreme beyond the start of A. And when it does that, it convinces you that the trend hasn't changed, that the old trend, in this case for the short term it was up, remains the same, and it does it right before wave C takes off and moves substantially beyond the end of A. So this is really very difficult for a lot of people who may have entered short around here with a very short risk-reward profile, but they didn't allow for an expanded flat. They didn't allow for a little bit of room for price to move for the spike before that pullback finally got underway. Once we had this bearish reversal pattern and this candlestick, I said we needed, well, I said before, but we needed to expect a new low at least a little bit below 0.5404. My target was most likely 0.5252, but below that, I said if we close below that, the next area for support would be 0.4659. We got below that very briefly, and we got this downward spike. I did say I thought that we were probably going to get a sharp downward movement to support and then a move up, and that's exactly what we've got on the 7th of August, and we've got some strength in upward movement. So now I think it's time to pull the invalidation point for XRP, and this is where risk lies for this Elliott Wave analysis. Now, just a warning, this is one of the ways that you must interpret my Elliott Wave analysis. My invalidation points represent risk. Where do I think, if I've got the analysis right, price shouldn't go? I don't think we should see a new low by any amount at any time frame now below 0.4322. If that happens, this wave count is wrong and minute wave 2 is not complete. I've been wrong before. I will be wrong again. My aim is to be right more often than I'm wrong. I'm not going to be able to be right all the time. That's humanly impossible. So this is where my risk lies. And so this is the point for price where you must calculate your risk reward. For the short term, I'm now expecting a third wave up, and the candlestick for the 7th of August absolutely fits for a third wave. I expect minute wave 3 is only within minor wave 1, so I'm not expecting an incredibly strong third wave yet at this point, but reasonable strength. Price is finding resistance just a little bit below this channel. I think I showed you how to draw that channel in my last video, so if you want to see that, click over through to the Elliott Wave analysis for XRP in my last Bitcoin XRP video. Price is finding resistance here, a little bit of a pullback. Within minute wave 3, let's get some labels in here. Within minute wave 3, it may only subdivide as an impulse. We may have minuet 1, and now minuet wave 2 may move a little bit lower. So let's use the log function of the Fibonacci ratio, and let's use 0.5034 if it gets down that low. I don't think it's going to get there this time. It's final support though if it was deeper than I expect. For the short term, I'd expect the log function of the 0.382 Fibonacci ratio at 0.5532 because there's strong technical support in that area. So look out for a little pullback to continue a little bit lower to test support about 55 cents again before a third wave takes off to the upside for XRP. So this wave count is reasonably bullish, but I'm not expecting price to move in a straight line. There will be little pullbacks and consolidations along the way, and I think we've got the start of one here because of this bearish engulfing candlestick pattern. Minuet wave 2 may not move beyond the start of one below 0.4322. Technicals for XRP, support was found about 0.46, quickly broken below 55 cents, but very quickly returned back above on the 7th of August, finding resistance now at 62 cents. Look for support initially at 57 cents, and below that I think we may have another test of 55 cents before price is able to move up and away and break above resistance at 62 cents and then attack next area of resistance at 0.675. The completed session for the 7th of August was extremely bullish, but we have had more bullishness back here, 10th of March. We are getting strong increases in volume as price moves higher, but a little bit of weakness for the following session now, which is complete for the 8th of August, tells me to expect a little pullback here, and that fits the Elliott Wave count really nicely. ADX is declining. At this time frame, there's no clear trend. ATR is showing an increase now as price moves higher. With no clear trend, the model of stochastics and support and resistance would expect stochastics to continue higher and price to stay around resistance. But watch how the 9th of August completes. So far, this is a bearish engulfing candlestick pattern, but we're only at 7 a.m. for New York time, which I've set this chart to. If this current session does complete as a bearish engulfing pattern, then I'd expect stochastics is not going to reach overbought. We've got the end of an upward swing, and look out for a pullback. That's it from me today with your quick update. I hope you've all had a wonderful day.